Welcome, and thank you so much for being here tonight. If you're here, you're likely struggling with your nutrition and knowing what's right for your body and what might be causing some issues. So, just in case you're worried, you are in the right place if you have been trying every new diet out there, every exercise program that has been invented, and you may have had some short-term results, but you're really constantly having to think about your weight and constantly thinking about what you have to feed yourself or what you can't feed yourself. I also think you're in the right place tonight if you are ready and willing to try something different, something new, something that maybe will shake it up a little bit for you. If you're up for a different kind of challenge where you play around and experiment with your food and with your diet rather than trying to cut foods out or entire food groups out. This is the talk for you. I want to make sure that everyone here feels that they have their own personalized nutrition plan when they leave, and that they understand that at No Shoes Nutrition, we do not do fad diets. We do not believe that you need to cut out all the foods that bring you joy. So I'm curious, does this sound like you? Do you feel completely lost? Do you feel like you don't have focus and energy and you're not getting the results that you're looking for? Do you think that there may be, just maybe, some kind of underlying issue, some kind of reason that your weight won't budge for you, or that you can take it off a little bit at a time, but then it all comes back after a big weekend barbecue? Even though maybe your medical doctor says there's nothing really wrong with you, everything's fine. Are you sick and tired of feeling sick and tired? I talk to so many people who I truly believe don't know how crappy they feel or how good they could feel if they just made a few changes to their nutrition. If you are tired of having to think about food all the time, that is just not what food is supposed to be like. We're supposed to enjoy sitting down and having a meal and feeling confident that we're feeding our body and our soul when we eat our food. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling overwhelmed, because let's be honest, when you Google something, there's 300 posts and you don't know what to believe or what not to believe. If you're dreading having to start another diet, if you're trying to think about maybe September or October and getting back on track, you want to lose weight, you know you need to lose weight for your health, but you just can't even think about it right now because there's just one thing after another in your life that's you feel may be holding you back. I want to introduce you to one of my favorite quotes here. So, the first step to getting anywhere is deciding you're not willing to stay where you are. So, this is super profound for me and very important if you're considering changing the way you eat. And why? Because, like I said, many people out there are trying things, the same things in kind of a different way over and over again, and thinking that they're going to get different results. However, if you're not getting to the root of what's going on for you personally in your body, then you're not getting anywhere. You're spinning your tires. So, what we need to do is figure out the foods that are feeding you and the foods that are working against you. And that's where the experimentation comes in. And we're going to talk more about that. I want to reassure you that you are in the right place if you've had enough of dieting. If you're sick of the word diet, because really I find that it's kind of a dirty word. No one wants to talk about dieting anymore. Really, if you look dieting up in the dictionary, your diet is just the food you eat on a regular basis. That's your diet. When we think of diet in North America, we think of restriction and kale and fiber and all the things that people dread eating. So if you're willing and able and open to some change and you're willing to do a little bit of work, because let's be honest, I can't go into your house, I can't cook for you and prep every meal and decide what's going to be for dinner every night. So it does take a little bit work to get things going and to figure out what's going on for you, but it's still something that's going to be completely up to you. And hopefully at No Shoes Nutrition, we can help you make the process of change a little bit easier. And like I said, I really don't believe that most people know how crappy they feel on a daily basis or how good they could feel if we just start making a little change. And that's the other thing with diets. It's like you're all in. You're all in. It's doing a 180. You're changing everything all at once. Whereas if you just do one little thing at a time, we can make it a lot easier. So if you're ready for more energy, vitality, and finally want to have time to think about something other than food, then you're definitely in the right place. So tonight we're going to talk about why diets fail and how you can begin to break the cycle of yo-yo dieting and start to set yourself up for success. Because with these fad diets, I see some success, I get excited, and then I go back. And then I see some success and I go back. And so that's what the yo. Now, what if you could just picture a future where you learn to eat for your body and that was just it? You didn't have to think about it anymore after that. But I guess before we begin, I should probably tell you who I am. So I am Megan Barefoot, and my company is No Shoes Nutrition. I'm a certified holistic nutrition consultant and certified health coach. So what does that mean? That means I love nutrition and I look at it from a holistic point of view, meaning I don't just look at your food. I look at your lifestyle. I look at your sleep. I look at your stress. I look at how you move during the day, how much you move during the day. We talk about when you eat, what fits into your schedule. That's what holistic means. It's looking at the whole picture. I was actually a geologist for almost 12 years and got into nutrition when I had my babies because my second daughter had a lot of gut issues. And I was just told it will work itself out in 6 to 8 years. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen a constipated baby, but it broke my heart. I couldn't handle it. So I started to do my own research. I got obsessed with the microbiome of the gut. That's all the gut bugs that live in your large intestine and help you digest and get your nutrition out of your food. They also help make neurotransmitters and they help you feel your best all the time. And when you feed yourself, you're feeding that microbiome. And as soon as I learned that, it was like everything clicked. And I had to start to figure out how to feed not just myself, my family, but our microbiomes as well. And then I decided once my babies were a little bit older, do I go back and go into the oil and gas industry again, or do I take a different path? And I decided to go to the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition and the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York. And then I studied with Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, who is the developer of the GAPS program. That's the Gut and Psychology Physiology Syndrome, which is an amazing gut protocol, super hard. So I don't necessarily follow that protocol with all of my clients, but I take little bits and pieces of all the things that I've learned and help people customize programs for themselves. So this is how I would describe myself. I'm extremely enthusiastic and passionate about what I do and about pretty much anything I put my energy into. I feel very confident. I'm a super supportive friend, mother, wife. I'm a giver. I want to be as authentic as possible, and I try to live a natural, artistic, creative way of life with a lot of empathy because I know that life is hard for everybody. We all have a story. We all have things going on. I love the outdoors. I'm out in nature every single weekend, every single day if I can help it. And I love to travel. That's been a little more difficult over the last few years, but I try my best to be positive and energetic as possible as I can, which means I have to feed myself well and live a lifestyle that I believe will help me live long, and not just long, but I want to live well. I want to live vibrantly all the way into my old age. So I think of myself as a health ambassador and an influencer, more for my friends and family, colleagues, and the people around me, more than like a social media influencer, but maybe someday. And I want to encourage people to just live their best lives. And support them in making the changes that they need to feel awesome, because it's possible to feel better and better. Everybody's on a journey. Everybody's at a different point. So if we can all support each other in getting to that next stage, awesome. Awesome. So let's get started. Let's start by talking about the first few reasons why I believe that diets don't work. First of all, I don't know about you, I've tried every fad diet. I have tried them all. I do it because I freaking love it and I experiment and I want to know what's going on for everybody else. But every single time I try one of these fad diets, my husband rolls his eyes and he's like, "Oh, what are we into right now? Why are we doing this? What's going on?" Because diets add stress. Change is hard. And when you're trying to change everything all at once, you're going from here all the way in the opposite direction, 180 degrees. They're stressful. It's stress. And we already have stress in our lives. We run households. We're trying to cut calories. We're trying to get our lives in gear. Some of us have careers. Some of us run businesses. And all of this stress and even restricting calories in some of these crazy diets adds more cortisol, so the stress hormone, to our body. And so our bodies start to conserve fat. So on top of all the stress that our diets give us and our life gives us, now we're adding this dietary stress from internal signals, and that can lead to emotional and stress eating. How many people are stress eaters? That would be me, 100%. So by adding more stress and restricting our calories, it can perpetrate scenarios of emotional eating and even send people into binge eating, which is not a good pattern to get into for obvious reasons. So the diets don't often address the underlying emotional and physiological, psychological factors that contribute to overeating and unhealthy eating habits. So this stress and boredom and emotions and all of these things that come up when we're trying to restrict our calories can lead people to turning to food for comfort. And this can undermine the weight loss efforts, but also really affect our relationship with food, which is for likely most of us have a strained relationship with food if we're here and trying to lose weight. So this can only perpetrate even more emotions around food that we need to address, which diets don't address. The second reason that I don't love diets for people is that it's a short-term focus. It's like, in the next 3 months, you could lose 30 pounds. That is not necessarily, number one, a healthy way of doing things. And number two, it's a short-term focus. I want to encourage people to look long-term. I want you to live long. I want you to live well. I want you to live healthy and vibrant lives. I want you to think about how you're going to eat, not just in the next 30 days, but for the rest of your life. Learn your body's cues and signs and signals so that you know what your body needs and you can feed it properly. Rapid weight loss is often part of this drastic calorie reduction that comes along with these fad diets. We can sometimes hear, like with certain diets, the elimination of entire food groups. That's not necessarily the most healthy approach to get to your goals. Well, yes, this does lead to intentional weight loss. It's difficult for many people in these kind of situations to sustain these extreme measures. And once they go off the diet, that is a recipe for disaster, because they start to regain the weight, and not just the weight that they had on, but often they regain even more weight. So it can lead to that extra stress, that emotional eating, but overall, it just makes us feel crappy about ourselves. It lowers our self-esteem. And on some level, we believe we don't have the willpower to sustain these extreme measures. So we give up on ourselves and feel bad about ourselves, which is another route to having a negative relationship with food that can lead to just emotional and mental wellness difficulties. So Another thing that a lot of people don't recognize when they go on these extreme weight loss diets is that they're not getting the proper nutrition. These fad diets can lead to malnutrition. And a lot of people think malnutrition, they think of like starving people in third world countries that look like skeletons and things like that. But our body will give us hunger cues when we are even malnourished in one or two nutrients, like say a B vitamin or a fat soluble vitamin, because we're not getting enough fats with these low fat diets and things like that. So this can set us back to stage one, right back to setting off stress signals in the body. It can increase cortisol. Then we get these crazy cravings for weird things. Like I talk to people who are like, I'm craving ice cream every single night after dinner. I can't get away from it. I have to have my ice cream. And I'm like, that can signal, are you deficient in magnesium, calcium? There's a lot of things that we can be working into that and thinking about, like, what nutrient is your body trying to signal that you need? But there's a very good chance that your body isn't getting what it needs when you're on these fad diets. And this signals the cravings and the hunger, which leads to that vicious cycle of yo-yo dieting and weight loss, weight gain, weight loss, weight gain, which is terrible for your metabolism, which we'll get to in a second. There's also an extreme lack of individualization. So how many times do I hear, oh, this worked for my cousin and my cousin's friend, so I'm just following the same thing they did, which is crazy because diets shouldn't be one size fits all. It disregards all of our individualization. We have different metabolisms, different lifestyles, different personal preferences. Like I'm one of the pickiest eaters on the planet for an adult woman, right? So I can't just jump into a pescatarian diet because that's, even if it worked for all of my friends, that isn't going to work for me because I don't like fish. You have no idea how many vegans and vegetarians I've met that don't like vegetables or beans or legumes. So there's a lot of malnutrition going on there and a lack of personal, individualized care that should be taken when deciding how and what you are eating. So at No Shoes Nutrition, we really like to ask you a ton of questions to figure out what your likes, your dislikes are, what your lifestyle's like. We work with people with individualized, unique, personal approaches that takes in your lifestyle, your sleep habits, your activity levels. Like I may be a marathon runner, whereas somebody might be stuck behind a desk all day. And so we're getting very different activity levels in there. So that is going to affect the nutrition we need. Plus, like I said, likes and dislikes play a huge role in how you're eating, but not just your own, but the likes and dislikes, allergies, things like that of the people you live with as well. So it's really necessary to have a personalized approach. Um, Another big pet peeve of mine, this is going to make some people laugh, is that there's all these crazy rules. I don't know about you, but I don't like being a rule follower. I don't like being told what to do. And a lot of these fad diets have a set of rules that must be followed. And that's the first thing that someone will say if it doesn't go right for you, is like, you mustn't have been doing it right. You mustn't have been following the rules. So these fad diets tend to focus on external rules and guidelines instead of helping to develop that healthy relationship with food and learning to listen to your own body's cues. So many of the people that try dieting are focusing on the diet themselves, and they're already have this terrible relationship with food. And so now they have even more restrictions and more rules that can totally disconnect you from your own internal body and the cues for hunger and satiation and from naturally understanding what your body wants. So it becomes challenging to work with someone to learn how to eat intuitively because nobody these days knows how to listen to their body. And I had never even heard of that concept of listening to my body until I took a potty training course for my 2-year-old back in the day. Yes, that's right. I took a course because I was so worried about potty training. And so they started talking about how you have to learn your child's signs and signals their body will give them. So do they get a look on their face? Do they look worried? Are they panicked? Do they freeze? And then teach them that that's their body telling them they have to go to the potty. And then I started thinking, when was the last time I listened to my own body? When was the last time I was listening to what cues and signals and signs my body was giving me in order to know what my body needs or what my body was trying to tell me? And that was like a huge aha moment for me. So what we do at No Shoes Nutrition is we really try to help people figure out those signs and symptoms. And when I ask all the questions in my nutrition assessments, people ask me all the time, like, why has no one ever asked me these questions before? Why did I never know that this was a symptom of something in my body? So, for example, when you get dehydrated, the first thing that happens when you get dehydrated is you get fatigued. What is the number one thing people go to the doctor for? Fatigue. Let's put 2 and 2 together here. We live in a semi-arid environment, practically a desert at times. We need to be drinking water. We need to be getting minerals because minerals help hydrate our tissues. So we can drink and drink and drink water, but if our electrolytes are out of balance, then we're still going to feel thirsty and we're still going to be dehydrated, which is a huge, like, eye-opening experience for people. People also end up over top of fatigue, then they get hunger cues because we mistake hunger and thirst. And then we get headaches, we get sick to our stomach eventually, like nausea, we get diarrhea. These are all the things that progress through dehydration. So if we can catch the symptoms of dehydration earlier, we know the signs and symptoms, we can avoid all those later symptoms and just nip it in the bud with fatigue and maybe a little headache or dry mouth or things like that. So we stop guessing at what's going on and we start listening to our body, and we'll figure out what our body needs and never get to bigger signs and symptoms of illness and sickness. The other thing, there's like 8 or 9 things I want to go over here that, are pet peeves of mine with fad dieting. But when we are dieting, we're only focusing on weight and the scale or the measurement. Some people are like, oh yeah, I don't look at the scale, but they're focusing on the size of their pants or the measurement around their waist. So fad diets, especially those you'll see on the internet all the time, they may be given to us from our brothers or sisters or cousins or things like that. They prioritize a number on the scale over the health and well-being of you and your body. So a perfect example of this was when I first moved to Calgary and realized that I needed to get into better shape. Better shape. That was my focus. But all I knew how to do was to cut calories. So I started recording it, and this was before they had apps for this. So I was like literally writing down all the calories and all of my food, trying to make sure I wasn't going over a certain amount of calories per day. That's all I was focusing on. And I was losing weight. And everyone was like, hey, you look so good. It's so great. You're looking so healthy and blah, blah, blah. But one day I was walking and I literally just had to walk up a straight flight of stairs in a mall because I didn't go to the, moving stairs. I just went to the walking stairs and I couldn't make it up. I had to stop halfway through. I had no energy. I was breathing heavy. I was like, what is happening? I was malnourished. I didn't have enough energy. I was not taking care of myself. So I was not getting fit and healthy. I was actually losing weight. People were giving me lots of compliments, but I felt like I was getting sick. I was getting weak. I couldn't even walk up a flight of stairs. So by focusing on weight loss alone and calories alone, it's not sustainable management of your weight. It's overlooked. And instead, we need to have a broader focus on improving our health and our health markers. So there's certain blood tests you can get done to before we start changing your lifestyle to give you a baseline, and then you can have them tested again in like 3 to 6 months to see if we're making improvements. It's more important to focus on the quality of your life than the size of your pants or the number on the scale. That's not always the best indication of your health and the changes that are taking place in your body. But a lot of these fad diets just, that's all they're talking about. They're just like, tell me that number on the scale. Tell me that number on the scale. Is it going down? Is it going down? I've worked with so many women, especially, that we've had so many improvements in energy. We've had improvements in sleep. We've had improvements with metabolism, and even, their pants do get looser and they do lose a little bit of that extra flab that they complain about, but the scale actually doesn't change, or they actually put on weight by the end of a program because they're building body mass, good muscle mass that actually burns calories a lot faster. So you can end up eating a few extra treats and still losing that flab, that little bit of extra body fat that they're worried about, rather than the weight that they're seeing on the scale. And I definitely want to touch on this because metabolic adaptation is something that we don't necessarily hear a lot about. And it's when the body experiences a significant reduction in calories that slows your metabolism down to conserve energy. Your body is stressed, we learned. Your body has to adapt. And the response is that it's going to slow your metabolism down. It's going to slow everything down. And this is when people start to hit plateaus. And then they have stubborn weight loss that they just can't get their body to lose any more weight. So during a diet or a calorie deficient period of time, the body will perceive the reduction of available energy and it will respond, and it will change certain things in the body. Like your resting metabolic rate will all of a sudden go right down. That's the amount of calories that you just burn just sitting around. If you were doing nothing, that's your resting metabolic rate. And the other things that can do is that it can affect your hormones. So your leptin, which is your hunger hormone, and your energy expenditure, as well as your thyroid hormones which control your metabolism, they're all going to be out of balance when you're in this severe caloric restriction. So depending on the amount of calories you're deficient, you may start to lose lean muscle mass as well. And like we just talked about, your muscle burns way more calories at rest than your fat mass does. So if you're actually burning muscle mass instead of burning off fat off your body, then your metabolic rate will go down. And one final part of this metabolic adaptation, is what is called your NEAT. So it's a lowered non-exercise activity thermogenesis. I know we're getting some scientific terms in here, which that refers to the calories burned throughout the day from just like little things like me here talking with my hands, fidgeting when you're standing and you're waiting in line at, the DMV. I was at the DMV the other day waiting in line, and people are like just fidgeting and shifting from leg to leg. So that amount of calories that you burn just doing that gets lowered. You're conserving in every activity that you're doing. You're likely even conserving and not burning as much when you do physical activities. So all of this translates into slower fat loss over time, making it more difficult for you to continue to lose weight. You're going to hit a plateau, and then it becomes a mental game where you are doing all this work and you're doing all this work and nothing's happening. So why are you doing all this work? And then you have a couple days of bad days and emotional eating comes in, and then you lose track and you fall off the wagon, as we say. So this metabolic adaptation is really quite scientific in a way, but it's plays a really big piece in why diets just don't work, especially calorically restrictive diets. Okay, so a lot of the reason why people, I feel like they can't continue with diet after diet after diet is because these diets give you these rules, you follow them, but there's a lack of knowledge about how to change your behaviors. So a lot of diets will they'll provide a meal plan, they'll maybe even packaged food sometimes, but they don't necessarily provide the education and the knowledge to help you change your habits. So you can do this as long as you have, this is why I really don't love meal plans, because meal plans, a lot of people will follow them verbatim. Oh, this is what Megan says to eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner. And then you get to the end of the meal plan and nobody knows what to eat. And then they just start the meal plan over again. So you're just eating the same foods every 7 days, every 7 days. And that gets boring. And, you lose motivation just from that point of view. So it's also expensive sometimes to keep buying new meal plans and to buy these packaged foods all the time. So there's behavioral and lifestyle changes that are needed for long-term healthy eating. So we need to break the habits that we have, and we need to make sure that we build little habits into bigger habits that we already have, because let's admit it, change is hard. But over time, we find ways to, okay, everybody wakes up in the morning and brushes their teeth, right? So if we can stack a habit onto that, and we'll talk about some of these habits later, it's not as hard and it just becomes part of the routine. So those are my biggest reasons. There's a few other ones in there with fad diets, but they're more specific about certain fad diets that I could get into. If anybody has questions on certain fad diets later, we can talk about that. But now, this I think is what everybody's been waiting for, is what can we do instead? What is the big deal here? Okay, you don't want me to follow these fad diets. I've been doing this for years. It seems to work. It keeps things sustainable. So what do you want me to do instead? So the first thing I want people to really think about when they're really considering going on a diet or changing the way they want to eat is why. Why do you want to change? What is the underlying drive behind this weight loss or change of lifestyle, or even it can be vanity, it can be anything, as long as it's strong and it resonates with you, because we just talked about how hard change can be. Well, when the going gets tough, you need to have a big reason why this is important to you. Is it a health crisis? Did you just get some bad news from the doctor because you have high cholesterol, or your blood sugar starting to be imbalanced on a regular basis, or something bigger like a actual diagnosis of something would be a great reason why it's time to consider changing your nutrition and changing your lifestyle. Whatever you choose, whatever that is for you, you need to own it. You need to use it, and you need to use it to motivate you to move forward and to start working little by little on these little changes that we're going to talk about. So along with that comes a switch in mindset. Okay, we have to start thinking about things differently. Instead of thinking about restriction, we're now thinking about health. Instead of thinking about cutting things out, I want to start asking you to add more healthy things in. The mindset is everything. So we're not going to be thinking about being on a diet, because now it's not about a diet. It's about changing our life and our lifestyle. And that may come with the benefit of weight loss. It may come with the benefit of more energy, less inflammation, better hormone balance, improved self-esteem. If you're thinking about just doing one or two small things every week, that's a lot easier to in your mindset than changing everything all at once and going from point A to point B with no like buffers in between. We want to make this a journey, not a race. We don't want to have to lose 30 pounds in 30 days or we failed. We want to start thinking about, okay, I'm this age right now. I want to live till this age, 110, 120. Get crazy, think big, right? And let's start thinking about how we're going to get there instead of thinking about how we're going to get the next 5 pounds off and the next 10 pounds off. And, let's start thinking about it from a changing our habits and taking our time and really learning and working on this. And then once we've decided to change and we know why it's important to us, we need to set up a plan. And I'm not talking about meal plans. Yes, we want to talk about meal plans and planning our meals and our foods and things like that. But what is the overall plan? What does your plan look like? Is it setting small goals so that you're setting yourself up for success? Because that's a good plan. Is it about scheduling time for prepping and shopping and cooking and even setting up time for planning itself? Because that's a good plan. This is going to take time. It's going to take work. It's going to feel like work until it's not, right? It feels hard until it's not hard anymore, until it's established habits that you just have going in your lifetime. And like I said before, the easiest way to build new habits in your life is to build those onto old habits. So, for example, nobody I know like forgets to brush their teeth every day, whether that's in the morning or whether that's at night or both times, hopefully. They wake up, they go to the bathroom, they brush their teeth. Well, what if we piled a new habit like taking some supplements and putting that right beside your toothbrush, you put your supplements right beside your toothbrush so that once you brush your teeth, then you take your supplements and you don't forget, and that can be just part of your morning routine every day now. This is called habit stacking, and it can make things seem a lot easier than trying to remember to do just one more thing every single day, one more thing every single week. You already naturally do things. You set your keys somewhere before you leave for work. You brush your teeth, you come home, you drink water, you do certain things on a daily basis. Why not add on to those things you're already doing, just naturally stacking those habits? So that's part of the plan. That's part of how we start to set the plan. What kind of things am I going to work on this week? And what can I stack those habits onto? And then we want to focus on balanced nutrition. Nobody really knows what that means, and that's okay because we weren't taught that in school. No one learned about balanced nutrition in school. So when I say balanced nutrition, I'm not just talking about eating perfectly all the time. And people get hung up on eating as healthy as possible, which again affects our relationship with food. It can be restrictive and overwhelming. What I'm referring to is moderation, and sometimes even moderation in moderation, which sounds crazy. So yes, we want to focus on consuming a variety of nutrient-dense fruits and vegetables and foods that are going to feed our body, right? But we also want to start learning our body's cues when we think we're hungry. Are we hungry or there's a difference between hunger and appetite. So hunger is internal cues from your body. Appetite is I see or smell something and I'm like, ooh, I could really go for a donut right now. But I'm not hungry, but I see that and I'm like, my mouth is watering now just thinking about that. But we have to learn the difference and know when our body's hungry, when it's thirsty, versus is our appetite just stimulated at the moment? So we want to make sure we're mindful of our portion size. We may need to use smaller plates. Everybody's dinner plates are like this big, but like in the 1950s, dinner plates were only this big. So that's a kind of a really great tool to use is to eat your dinner off smaller plates. We need to eat straight from nature, not focusing on packaged foods. We want to make sure that we are eating regularly, not skipping meals. And I always recommend that people start journaling, keeping track of things, because it's hard to remember what you ate yesterday. And if you have some kind of reaction in your body, that could be a reaction from yesterday's food, but we don't remember what it is. And it's not necessarily calorie tracking, it's just food sensitivity tracking. It's for symptoms, it's for gut issues, it's for all of those things. And also learning food triggers, things that I talk about called avalanche foods. Foods you know that you're not just going to have a bite of. That once that package is open, that package is empty. And I'll share a little thing with you. That's ketchup chips for me. Like, I don't ever have ketchup chips in my house. I never buy them. But if I go to a party or a barbecue and there are ketchup chips there, those ketchup chips are my avalanche food. They will be gone and I will have taken that bowl and eaten the whole bowl and not even realized it by the end of the day. So we have to be kind to ourselves. We have to remember that we're looking for progress, not perfection all the time. We want to write things down. We want to start, recognizing what are trigger foods, what are avalanche foods, what are things we need to avoid, what are things we need to physically force ourselves to buy. Like for some people, that's vegetables. They just don't naturally gravitate to vegetables. They'll buy lots of fruit, maybe a little bit of lettuce, but they don't really know how to cook vegetables to make them taste good, so they don't do it. We need to start making sure that we're working on those things. And we come up with ways of eating for our body instead of for our emotions. And that's part of the journaling as well, where you may write down, I had a really stressful day today and look at what I ate. Like this is starting to just recognize patterns for yourself. So let's not forget that we have some lifestyle factors here as well that we need to start focusing on. First of all, we already talked a little about this, hydration. Remember, many people will actually mistake dehydration for hunger. So if it's been a while since you've eaten or drink anything, it's really important to go and have a glass of water, make sure you're hydrated, and then reevaluate whether or not you need another snack or that donut that's over there. Let's try hydrating first. Then the number one reason we talked about people go to the doctors for is fatigue. So if you're finding you're getting really fatigued in the afternoons and starting to crave food, getting some hydration is always a good first move. We live, like I said, in a semi-arid environment, and we want to stay as hydrated as possible, especially in these summer months. We also need to focus on movement. We have to get up and move. And as much as I hate saying this, if you want to live long well, not just nutrition plays a part of this, you have to move your body and you have to keep a little bit of movement into all of your elder years as well. We can't just sit around and expect our bodies to just work well. Our bodies are meant to move. That's why we have joints. That's why we have muscles. We need to get up and get moving. And this can be overwhelming. That's why I say movement instead of exercise, because again, fitting a workout into your day may be overwhelming for people. It's just another thing we have to focus on. But what if we just parked a little bit further away and walked across the parking lot to get to the grocery store? What if and I know a lot of people are golfing this time of year, what if we walked 9 holes instead of drove? I know it's fun to drive in the golf carts, but what if we walked the holes, the golf course? What if we just moved more instead of sitting and watching TV after dinner? Why don't we get up and go for a walk, especially this time of year where the sun is out till late at night? This is a really great practice to get into with the whole family, just getting out. If the kids need to go and run off some steam, why don't you go to the park with them as well? Movement doesn't have to be complicated. It just means you need to get up and get moving a little bit every day. Just a half an hour is what I challenge, 20 minutes to a half an hour even, to get going, and then add on and add on. And I talk to a lot of people that truly believe that they're not stressed. We have to address stress management. Because you're handling it doesn't mean that your body is not stressed and that you're not dealing with stress. Just because everything seems to be okay and it's all under control doesn't mean you're not stressed. So we have to start addressing for mental wellness as well as the rest of our wellness or physiological wellness, is that we need to make sure that we are addressing stress management and putting things into place to help with stress. Um, a perfect example is just here tonight in the Zoom meeting. It may have been that some people just couldn't get onto the Zoom meeting, and that was just too stressful for them to deal with. So they just didn't come tonight. It may have been that someone in the room was planning to come, but then they were late and then they were stressed about that. And so there's little stressors that are like little nicks in our stress window. And so we have to acknowledge that there's all of these things that just show up in life, okay, that cause a little bit of stress. And being late, driving in traffic, not the TV remote not working properly, computers not working properly, all of these things just build up and build up and build up on a daily basis. And many of us are living in a state of constant fight or flight. And after a while, our bodies forget how to go into that rest and digest state, which is the calming state, the state we need to be in for relaxation. So we need to start scheduling in time to just have quiet. Maybe that's meditation. Maybe that's going for a walk after dinner. Maybe that's learning how to breathe deeply, relaxing our bodies, going for a massage. It could be different for every single person, but I really encourage everyone to start working on stress management now, because that will help you age gracefully, and stress affects your hunger hormones. So dealing with stress will help you stay on track with your balanced nutrition as well. And along with that stress management, we have to talk about sleep. I cannot overemphasize the importance of getting adequate sleep for weight management. So a lack of proper sleep means that can mean not sleeping at all, like insomnia. It can mean having trouble falling asleep at night, or it can mean waking up 1 or 2 or 3 times during the night, or waking up and not being able to get back to sleep. So this can affect our mental wellness. It can affect our stress levels. It can affect our hormone balance. It can affect our hunger satiation hormones as well. So we have to make sure that we are focusing on getting good night's sleep. And I want everyone to focus on trying to get to bed before 11 o'clock, because even I talk to a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, I don't get to bed till like 1 o'clock in the morning, but I'm getting 8 hours of sleep, so it's fine. But around 11 o'clock, our bodies give us a spike of cortisol, which is like our second wind. And you will find if you stay up around 10, 11 o'clock, all of a sudden you're like, go for a snack right now. I'm just a little snacky. And then that should be your signal of, no, I need to go to bed, not take that snack, because that's your body preparing to stay up later. And if you can get to bed before that, it helps balance all those hunger hormones for the next day. So track your progress. We talked about this a little bit. When you're embarking on a new journey and changing your habits, track your progress, because it's the little things. It's not a huge number on the scale every week, but maybe like your energy levels. Are you starting to say, oh yeah, I woke up and I felt refreshed this morning? For people who are used to dieting and tracking their progress, this means standing on the scale every morning, and that's not really what I mean. What I want to talk about is tracking the little things, like little off the scale wins, and track your struggles as well, and how those struggles are improving by these little habits that we're doing. So this is where the journaling can come in. How's your energy? How's your stress? How's your weight loss? How's your measurements? How's the size of your pants fit? All of those things are really important, and they matter when you're trying to make these changes. At the beginning of every program, I work with people on different rating systems for symptoms in their body. And that in and of itself can be a great way to track progress. Are those symptoms coming down for them? For example, are you someone who deals with daily afternoon headaches? And you're changing the way you eat and the way you sleep and your lifestyle, and then all of a sudden those headaches, if you're tracking, you might realize that I'm only getting headaches every 3 days, now every 4, now every 6. Now I'm only getting them every 2 weeks, or not at all, or only when the pressure changes here in Calgary. So these are the biggest things that I recommend for people who are trying to change and trying to lose weight and trying to change their lifestyle to get healthier and more fit. And I would be remiss if I did not talk about getting support. And this is not necessarily going out and having to pay someone. It can be as simple as finding support from your friends, your family, and other like-minded people that you can just join groups on Facebook and stay motivated and accountable to your goals. One of the things I find that that works for other people is having an accountability partner, or finding someone in their life that if they don't want to tell anybody, at least they tell one person, and that helps them have someone they can go to talk about things when they get difficult. Um, a lot of us are accountable to everyone else in our lives. We're accountable to our jobs, our businesses, our husbands, our wives, our children, our everything else except for ourselves. We're taking care of everyone else. So if you're one of these people and you struggle with accountability and staying on track, and you know you're good for a few days, but then you start to see some changes, and you may even see some movement on the scale, but then the weekend rolls around and you have children to run here and there and everywhere, and you have family gatherings and you have obligations and things just stop for your own personal goals, then it actually might be important for you to consult with a professional who specializes in accountability and coaching and can provide that personalized advice and guidance. At No Shoes Nutrition, we do exactly that. We work with our clients one-on-one or in group programs, and we help to support and figure out what's going to help keep you accountable and keep you motivated for your goals and for your own personal health and wellness journey. No one else's, yours personally. So for some of you, you may be wondering what a holistic nutrition consultant and health coach actually is and what we can do. Well, we are not, first of all, registered dietitians. We go to a different school and we get a different education, and we learn to support our clients in different ways that are more holistic and have a personal approach to health and wellness. We do help people figure out their own body and what their body is trying to tell them. If your thyroid is sluggish, if your liver is overburdened, if your hormones are out of balance, if your stress is high and it's holding you back from losing weight, we can help you figure out that and what's happening in your body and come up with a plan so that it's not so overwhelming and there's not so many rules and restrictions and for reaching your goals. We help you stay accountable. We help you navigate weight loss plateaus if they come up, any like motivational barriers that come up and block you. We help you get to the next level. We help you set realistic goals to keep you on track with those goals. It's proven that by getting support, you improve your chance of success. And we are here not to just support you with weight loss. That is not our motivation. Our motivation is to help support you find a system that will help you build healthy habits for the rest of your life so that you can eliminate this yo-yo dieting and you may or may not have been doing for the last few years. It doesn't matter how slow you go as long as you don't stop. It also doesn't matter how slow you go as long as you just start. That's my little addition to this little quote here. So to recap, what we've learned today is that diets don't work for some obvious reasons, but also because they just are stressful. You end up malnourished with lots of cravings, end up emotionally eating and potentially binging, and your hunger cues and your body signals get all messed up. So we learned that the highest rate of improved weight loss is linked to having a strong why, shifting the mindset, setting up a plan, and getting support. And so these are your options, in my opinion. Either you go it alone. Okay, so go it alone, get stuff like books, workout programs, watch videos, surf the internet, look for ways to start and stay on track to maintain your motivation. And it is possible you can do it alone. Or you could come in to No Shoes Nutrition, get a free consultation. We can discuss what's happening for you, what might be holding you back, give you some tips and tricks, and get you started on a possible plan and path for a whole new lifestyle. And this path is for you if you have a strong why, but you don't know where to start. And if you've been yo-yo dieting for years and you're absolutely fed up and fried, this is for you if you feel like there may be underlying issues that we might need to dig deeper to get to the root of why your weight won't budge following some of these fad diets. And if you're willing to invest in a new approach and finally get those lifelong results you've been looking for. It's not for you if you're absolutely happy with where you are right now and that you're just here for a good time and to learn a little bit more. And I love that about you. So great and congratulations for you. And it's also not for you if you are very set in the way of doing things and you really honestly don't feel that you're up for something different right now. And that is okay. This is not necessarily for you if you're willing, if you don't have the time or you're not willing to put in the time and effort for yourself. Everybody has to be ready to take on change because, like we said, change is hard. So if you're not ready, that's okay. I'm here. You'll have my contact information. If and when you are ready, we can talk then. So food for thought, diet, and health. Focus on the die here. Mentally focuses on food as the enemy, bad habits, temporary actions, negatives, scales, and a finish line. I want you to think more about health and healing the body. It mentally focuses on food as fuel, good habits, forever habits, positive, making daily choices, and looking at this as a lifetime journey, not a 30-day, 21-day fix. So what's going to happen if you don't make any changes with the way you're doing things now? Nothing. Guess what? Nothing's going to happen. And you are going to continue feeling the same way as you've always been feeling. And you're going to continue getting the same results that you've been getting for the past week, the past month, the past year. And if you're happy with that, then I'm happy for you. But if you're ready for a change and you're ready to try something new, I would love for you to come to No Shoes Nutrition's website and look at our blogs, look at our Facebook page, check out our Instagram, sign up for a free consultation. Like I said, we do individual programs and we have this is a little dated, January 2020. We have our next group program starting September 2023, which is going to be an amazing new development at No Shoes Nutrition. It's called the No Shoes Method. And it's a brand new program and it's set people up to reduce inflammation, to rest and repair the digestive system so that they can finally get results with weight loss. So thank you so much for coming out tonight. If anyone has any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them now or visit my website, set up for a free consultation. We can have answered your questions there. Or feel free to email me. It's just Megan, MEGAN, at noshoesnutrition.com. And I would just love to thank everybody for coming out tonight, for watching this presentation, and for sharing in this valuable, what I think is very valuable information on why diets don't work.